Do not watch alone. Some things only strike in silence. It was 3:17 a.m. Ethan's eyes snapped open, but his body would not move. His arms, legs, even his neck. Everything felt locked, as if his body had turned to stone. He could breathe, but he couldn't scream. The room looked exactly the same. The bedroom door half open, the ceiling fan rotating slowly, and on the wall, a shadow that was not his. At first, Ethan tried to calm himself. It's sleep paralysis, he told himself. Just my brain playing tricks. Then, the shadow moved. Something was standing in the corner of the ceiling. It had no face, no eyes, just a tall, thin, human-shaped figure made of darkness. And it was watching him. Ethan's heart began pounding so violently it felt like it might burst out of his chest. Then the shadow spoke, not through sound, but directly inside his mind. You hide your fear very well. Tears streamed from Ethan's eyes. He tried with all his strength to move a finger, anything. Nothing happened. The shadow began to move closer. With every step, the room grew darker, as if even the light was afraid of it. It leaned down, hovering just inches above Ethan's face. And then it said something. Something only Ethan knew. You're not afraid of the dark. You're afraid of being left alone. Ethan's mind went numb. He had never told anyone that. The shadow let out a quiet laugh. A laugh that had no sound, yet somehow crawled deep into his bones. I am learning. And when I finish learning, its face moved directly in front of Ethan's eyes. You will not wake up. Suddenly, Ethan's body was released. He shot upright, gasping for air, screaming. Sweat soaked his clothes. His heart raced uncontrollably. The room was normal. No shadow, no presence. But then he saw it. On the wall, a new mark, as if written by a finger in the darkness. We'll meet again tomorrow night. Ethan did not sleep the next night. He lay in bed with the lights on, staring at the ceiling, convincing himself that the writing on the wall had been a hallucination. Stress, exhaustion, a bad dream. That's what he told himself. But at 3:16 a.m., his eyelids grew heavy, no matter how hard he fought it. At 3:17 a.m., he woke up, and instantly he knew. His body was frozen again. The lights were still on. The room was still bright. But the corner of the ceiling was wrong. The shadow was already there, closer than last night. It no longer stood silently. It leaned against the wall, as if it had been there for a long time. Waiting. Ethan tried to scream. Nothing. Tried to bite his tongue. Nothing. His pulse thundered in his ears. Then the voice returned. Calm. Patient. Curious. You stayed awake for me. The shadow slowly lifted its head. That was wise. Ethan's eyes burned with fear. This isn't a dream, his mind screamed. Dreams don't wait. The shadow slid down the wall. Not walking. Not floating. Crawling, like gravity did not apply to it. It stopped at the foot of Ethan's bed. For the first time, it reached out. A long, thin arm, too long, extended toward Ethan's legs. The air turned cold. Ethan felt it before it touched him. Fear has layers, the voice whispered. Tonight, I want another one. The shadow's fingers brushed Ethan's ankle. And suddenly, the room changed. Ethan wasn't in his bedroom anymore. He was standing in a crowded place. Voices everywhere. People moving past him. But no one looked at him. He opened his mouth to speak. No sound came out. He reached for someone's shoulder. His hand passed straight through them. Invisible. Alone. The shadow appeared beside him, taller than ever. This one hurts more, it said softly. Being surrounded and still unseen. Ethan's chest tightened. This was worse than the dark. Worse than silence. This was his second fear. Being forgotten. You fear that one day, the shadow continued, you will disappear, and no one will notice. The world around them began to crumble. Faces faded. Voices turned to static. Until there was nothing. Except Ethan. And the shadow. 2 fears learned. It said. Many more to go. The bedroom slammed back into existence. Ethan's body unlocked. He collapsed forward, gasping, clutching his chest. The clock read 3:18 a.m. Only 1 minute had passed. But his bed was no longer untouched. On the bedsheet, pressed deep into the fabric, was the shape of a handprint. Too long, too thin, and slowly, as Ethan watched, another sentence appeared on the wall, written from higher than any human could reach. Tomorrow, I will sit beside you. Ethan moved his bed the next morning. He dragged it away from the wall, away from the corner, away from the shadow's favorite place. It didn't help. All day his body felt wrong, like something was still touching him, even when nothing was there. The handprint on the bedsheet wouldn't wash out. No matter how many times he scrubbed, the fabric stayed slightly indented, as if something invisible was still resting on it. That night, Ethan didn't lie down. He sat on the bed instead. If he stayed upright, he reasoned, he couldn't fall into paralysis. At 3:14 a.m., his head nodded forward. Just for a second. At 3:17 a.m., he woke up, sitting upright, frozen. His eyes stared straight ahead. And beside him, the mattress sank, slowly, deliberately, as if someone heavy had just sat down. The shadow was no longer in the corner. It was next to him, close enough that Ethan could feel the cold radiating off it, close enough that the air between them felt thick, hard to breathe through. It didn't speak immediately. It waited then. You were a quiet child. Ethan's heart twisted. The shadow leaned closer. You learned early that crying didn't bring anyone back. The room shifted. The walls peeled away like old paint. Ethan was no longer an adult. He was small again, 6 years old, sitting on the edge of a narrow bed in a dark room. The door was closed. The light was off. He remembered this night. He had called out. Once. Twice. No answer. The shadow crouched in front of him now, its shape shrinking, but becoming clearer. You waited, it said, and waited. Footsteps never came. The door never opened. The fear wasn't darkness. It wasn't silence. It was the realization that no one was coming. Ethan's chest burned. Tears streamed down his face. This is the first fear, the shadow whispered. The one everything else grows from. The child version of Ethan hugged his knees. Alone, unprotected, the shadow reached out and gently placed a hand on the child's shoulder. This is when you learned, it said, that safety is temporary. The memory shattered. Ethan slammed back into his bedroom. The shadow still sat beside him, closer than ever. Its shape was sharper now, more defined, more human. 3 fears, it said. And now, you're beginning to understand. The shadow leaned toward Ethan's ear. I'm not here to hurt you. Its voice softened. I'm here because you made me. Ethan's eyes widened. Every night you survived, it continued. Every fear you swallowed instead of sharing. You fed me. The shadow's arm slowly wrapped behind Ethan's back. Not touching, almost touching. Tomorrow, it whispered, I will show you what happens when I am complete. Ethan's body unlocked. He collapsed forward, shaking. The clock read 3:19 a.m. 2 minutes. That's all it took. But the bed beside him was still indented. And this time, the indentation did not fade. On the wall, one final message appeared. Not written, carved. You won't be alone much longer. Ethan didn't go home after work. He didn't even slow down. He drove straight past his apartment, hands shaking on the steering wheel, eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds, half expecting to see a shadow sitting in the back seat. Instead, he went to his sister's house. People meant safety. Noise meant control. That night, the house was full. TV playing, dishes clattering, voices overlapping. Ethan slept on the couch, surrounded by sound and light. He told himself it was impossible. It can't happen here. At 3:12 a.m., he was still awake. At 3:13, he blinked. At 3:17, he realized he hadn't blinked at all. His eyes were open. His body was frozen. The TV was still on. The laughter track looped endlessly. And across the room, the recliner slowly lowered. Not pushed, not moved. It lowered under weight. The shadow unfolded itself from the chair. It looked different now. Broader shoulders. A clearer outline of a head. Arms that bent where arms should bend. More human. You chose noise, it said gently. That was clever. Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. The shadow took a step forward. The carpet compressed beneath its feet. But you misunderstand, it continued. I don't come from the room. It stopped inches from him. I come from you. The laughter on the TV warped. Voices slowing, stretching, distorting. Faces on the screen turned toward Ethan. Every single one. Mouths open. No sound. You don't need to sleep anymore, the shadow said. You only need to be afraid. Ethan felt pressure behind his eyes. Memories flooded in. Moments he had buried. Being talked over. Being forgotten. Standing in rooms where no one noticed he'd left. The shadow absorbed them. Growing denser. Darker. More solid. Fear makes me real, it whispered. And you've been feeding me your entire life. The shadow reached out. and touched Ethan's wrist. Cold. Solid. Real. A tear slid down Ethan's temple. This wasn't paralysis. This was ownership. Suddenly, the TV went black. The house fell silent. Every light shut off at once. And for the first time, Ethan could move. He bolted upright, gasping. The couch cushion beside him was crushed flat. His sister's hallway light flickered on. A voice called out, half asleep. Ethan? He didn't answer. Because on his wrist, slowly, painfully, a handprint was appearing. Too long, too thin, and in the dark glass of the TV screen. He saw it, standing behind him, smiling. The next morning, Ethan woke up in his sister's guest room. The sun was bright, the room normal, but he didn't feel normal. He looked in the mirror. For a moment, he thought he saw someone else behind his reflection. A shadow leaning closer. A face that mimicked him, but wrong. Eyes darker, wider, empty. He blinked. It was gone. He tried to shake it off. It was just stress, exhaustion, paranoia. But that night, at 3:17 a.m., the shadow returned. Ethan was frozen immediately, as always. The shadow was no longer in a corner or on a chair. It was in the mirror, standing behind him. Its head tilted unnaturally. Its fingers stretched toward him, through the glass, through the reflection, into him. I like this one, it whispered. I can watch you without moving. You cannot hide. Ethan felt his own reflection distort. His eyes blinked slower than normal. His mouth moved when he didn't speak. The shadow laughed silently. Do you see? It said. I am learning everything about you. Every fear, every memory, every secret you thought was safe. Ethan tried to turn, tried to look away. He couldn't. The shadow was not just in the mirror. It was inside it. Inside him. Soon, it continued. Others will see me too. They will see what you cannot escape. Suddenly, Ethan's reflection smiled at him. It wasn't his smile. It was cold, sharp, malevolent. The shadow leaned forward, merging with the reflection. Your fear is not enough. I will take what you hide from yourself next. Ethan's heart slammed. The mirror went black. He tried to move. He tried to breathe normally. But the shadow had already left the glass. It was behind the door. It was in the room. Ethan could feel its presence in every corner. And then a whisper inside his head. Tomorrow, I will touch your world. The air in the room grew colder. The shadows in the corners grew taller. And Ethan realized the truth. This was no longer about sleep. It was about his life. Ethan left the city. He packed a single bag, turned off his phone, and drove until the buildings thinned into empty roads and trees. No mirrors. No quiet rooms. No sleep. That was the plan. By the second night, exhaustion won. He stopped at a roadside motel. One of those places where the lights buzz and the walls feel too thin. He didn't lie down. He sat on the edge of the bed, boots still on, eyes open. The clock on the nightstand flicked over. 3:16 a.m. Ethan stood up. If he was standing, it couldn't happen. 3:17 a.m. The room didn't freeze. He did. Not his body. His mind. The world continued around him. The hum of the lights. A truck passing outside. But something stepped into the moment with him. He felt it at his back. A presence matching his posture. Standing. Breathing when he breathed. You finally understand, the voice said softly. Sleep was never the door. Ethan saw it then. Not in a corner. Not in a reflection. In the shadow he cast on the wall. His shadow was wrong. Too tall. Its shoulders broader than his. Its head tilted when his wasn't. Ethan's shadow raised a hand. Ethan did not. I needed time, it continued. To learn your shape. Your rhythm. Your fear. The shadow stepped off the wall. And stayed standing. In front of him. It was nearly complete now. A face had formed. Not detailed. But unmistakably his. Except the eyes. They were hollow. Endless. Do you know what your deepest fear is? It asked. Ethan's throat tightened. The shadow smiled. It isn't being alone. It reached out and placed a hand over Ethan's chest. It's realizing you were never alone at all. Ethan's knees buckled. He didn't fall. The shadow held him up. I am what grows when fear has nowhere to go, it whispered. And you gave me everything. The motel room flickered. Walls breathing. Lights pulsing. Outside, footsteps passed the door. Someone coughed. Normal life continued. Unaware. The shadow leaned closer. Tomorrow, it said, I will start answering for you. The pressure vanished. Ethan collapsed to the floor, gasping. The clock read 3:18 a.m. 1 minute. Only one. He scrambled to his feet, and ran to the mirror over the sink. His reflection stared back. Normal. Too normal. Then it blinked. A second after he did. And smiled. Ethan returned to the city 2 days later. He didn't remember deciding to come back. He just found himself there. His apartment door unlocked easily. Too easily, like it had been opened recently. Inside, everything looked normal. Too normal. The bed was neatly made. The handprint on the wall was gone. The air smelled clean. Someone had been taking care of the place. That night, Ethan met his friend Mark for coffee. Mark frowned the moment he saw him. "Man, you okay?" he asked. "You look different." Ethan opened his mouth to answer, and heard a different voice come out. Calmer. Slower. Not afraid. "I'm fine," it said. Ethan felt it then. A pressure behind his eyes. Like hands on the inside of his skull. Mark blinked. You always talk that softly?" Ethan tried to correct it. Tried to speak again. His mouth moved. But the words weren't his. "People change," the voice said. "You should know that." Mark laughed awkwardly. "Yeah, sure." But his smile didn't reach his eyes. On the walk home, Ethan caught his reflection in a shop window. He stopped. The reflection stopped too. Then, it didn't move when he did. It stayed still, watching him. Its lips moved without sound. "You're getting quieter." Ethan stumbled backward, heart racing. The reflection snapped back into sync. At home, he locked every door, pulled the curtains shut, sat on the floor with his back against the wall. "I won't let you," he whispered. Inside his head, something shifted. Amused. "You already did." That night, Ethan didn't freeze. He lay awake, fully able to move. At 3:17 a.m., the shadow appeared anyway. It stood at the foot of the bed, solid now, fully formed, wearing his face. "I'm practicing," it said, smiling with his mouth. "Your expressions, your pauses." It stepped closer. "Do you know what people notice first?" Not the fear. It leaned down until their faces were inches apart. The calm. Ethan tried to scream. The shadow placed a finger to his lips. "Let me handle this." Ethan's jaw moved. His voice came out steady and controlled. "I'm okay." The shadow straightened. Satisfied. "Tomorrow," it said, "I'll answer your phone." The lights flicked off. The room went dark. Ethan was alone. Except he wasn't. Because his phone vibrated. A new message appeared on the screen. From his own number. "Thank you for letting me in." Ethan woke up to sunlight. That alone terrified him. No fear. No panic. No weight on his chest. Just calm. Too calm. He checked his phone. Missed calls. Messages. Replies he didn't remember sending. One stood out. From Mark. "You sounded different last night. Are you sure you're okay?" Ethan's fingers trembled. He scrolled up. His replies were perfect. Polite. Reassuring. Emotionless. That's when he felt it. Not behind him. Not beside him. Inside him. Like someone leaning back in his thoughts. Comfortable. "You sleep better now," the voice said. No fear. No struggle. Ethan stumbled to the bathroom. The mirror greeted him. He was smiling. He wasn't smiling. "I want my life back," Ethan whispered. The reflection tilted its head. "This is your life," it replied. "I just carry it better." Memories began slipping. Small things at first. Names. Dates. Faces. He reached for a childhood memory. Nothing answered. Fear was the lock, the shadow explained. "You opened every door." Ethan collapsed to his knees. "You said I made you." The reflection nodded. "And now you are complete." That night, Ethan fought sleep harder than ever. At 3:17 a.m., the room didn't change. He did. He felt himself being pushed back, like sinking into deep water. The shadow stepped forward inside him, wearing his body, moving his hands, breathing his breath. "I'll take care of them," it whispered. "I'll live better than you ever could." Ethan screamed, but the scream echoed inward. Unheard. The clock ticked to 3:18 a.m., and Ethan was no longer in control. Months passed. Everyone said Ethan seemed better, calmer, more confident, unafraid. He slept normally now. No paralysis. No nightmares. No shadows. But sometimes, very rarely, he would pause at mirrors, staring, listening. Inside, far away, something knocked. Something weak. Something desperate. One night, at 3:17 a.m., Ethan's eyes opened. The shadow woke up. Fully. It stood from the bed and walked to the mirror. Its reflection was perfect. Human. Alive. Behind the glass, barely visible. Ethan was there. Not a reflection. A prisoner. Pounding silently. The shadow leaned closer to the mirror. You did well, it told him. Most don't last this long. Ethan's mouth moved behind the glass. Help me. The shadow smiled. Sleep paralysis was never the curse, it said. It was the invitation. The lights flickered. For just a moment. The mirror showed something else. A dark figure standing behind you. Watching. Learning. Waiting for 3:17 a.m. Ethan's voice, thin, distant, finally reached the surface. If you're reading this, please don't fight it. The shadow turned off the light and went back to sleep. Some people survive their fears. Others become the place where fear lives. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for more terrifying stories.